So I should first mention, in case people get the wrong impression here, Jean-François, this is our last hit now for a while, right?
For a little while, yes, and it's with a broken heart that I have to say that.
Yeah, well, of course, you'll be heading off to your new job at the United Nations. What are you going to be doing there exactly?
Well, I'm going to be trying to stop the flow of migrants from the U.S. to Canada.
Okay, we'll certainly have your hands full, I guess. No, you're taking some time off. People who may not know this, by the way, you're a prolific author. You've written several books, and you're taking some time off to do more of that kind of stuff, research, etc.
I had the silly idea of trying to write a parallel biography of René Lévesque and Pierre-Elliott Trudeau, and to show how these people who were born just 3 years apart and had pretty much the same education in the same from Jesuits, and one in Quebec City, one in Montreal, diverged so greatly in their outlook, and then came to know each other and became friends for a while before leading both their parties and their nation and colliding. And so I thought this would be a hefty book, but it doesn't fit in only one book. So I'm going to take a few months because I cannot do that and my other journalistic endeavors. So I'm going to delve into this until early April.
I wish you luck. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. And I know writing is a difficult thing to do at the best of times. So good luck.
Thank you.
It's quite the project, yeah. All right, let me talk about a couple of things in the news. The obvious one, and we're going to have Sébastien Dallaire from Léger a little later on in the show. New poll comes out and just shows, fair to say, more bad news for piling on, I guess, if you will, for the CAQ. Worst show, I guess, in popular support as far as this poll is concerned since 2000, I think, in 16. So we're talking 8 years ago. What do we make of this? Is this party, done like dinner?
Well, done like dinner. We used to say earlier this year that they still had 2 years to show results in health and education and the economy and try to rebound. Well, now it's only a year and a half because for the rest of the time will be election season. So time is running short, and they cannot have a good month. I've been in governments before, and we had bad streaks, and then we had good streaks. But I cannot remember when the Legault government had a good streak or a good month or a good week. And so obviously it piles on so that people who became dissatisfied in the last year moved basically to the PQ, and then there were leftovers of the CAQ true believers. But if your party every week, every month does badly, at some point you just move to the undecided column or then to the PQ column because these two electorates are communicating basins. And so that's what we see once again.
Okay, I'm trying to understand, and I'm not making excuses for the party here, and I asked the same question of one of our contributors earlier on. It's November of 2024, and much as it has been, bad news after bad news after bad poll, that's still a long time till a provincial election. And I don't want to be a cynic here, but you know what? It doesn't seem to me to matter a whole lot what goes on. If we fast forward to 2026, and François Legault decides, you know what, I'm going to send everyone another check for $500. Do we forget all this?
well, when he did send the checks for the two first times around, and then lowering taxes, he was in a surplus situation. Now he has $11 billion deficit, and they're trying to cut $1 billion from the health services, which is just bonkers to try and do that now. And so I don't see him, do that again. But it's true that when we'll be in 2026, it's going to be different in at least one way, is because the Liberal Party will have a new leader. And what the poll shows that they tested again, Pablo Rodriguez, Denis Coderre, Charles Millard, if one of these was to be the leader, would that change your vote? Well, it does for Pablo Rodriguez, and he goes from 17% of voting intentions to the Liberals up to 26%. If Pablo Rodriguez is that, and it's a better showing than last time they tested it a month ago or 2 months ago. So we would be back of the Parti Québécois and would still be first. The Liberal Party would be second, but a competitive second. And so the CAQ would be hard-pressed to try and survive in this new environment.
So do you actually put much faith in that, depending on who leads the Liberals? You mentioned Pablo Rodriguez, or if it turns out to be Denis Coderre. I mean, they have some name recognition, which obviously adds value. Do you really think that makes a difference for the party? Polls aside?
Sure.
Yeah?
I'm absolutely sure. There is no doubt in my mind that it makes a difference, because there are a number of Federalists that went to the CAQ and that are now disappointed. The problem with Denis Coderre is that he has name recognition, but he has basically a negative a majority of people have a negative opinion of him.
Yeah.
Pablo Rodriguez has much less public recognition, which means that he can grow. And of those who know who he is, there's a majority who have a good opinion. And even if he's not known by 43% of Quebecers, he's the one that, when asked if he were the leader, that moves 11% of voters from basically the CAQ column and the Québec solidaire column to the Liberal column. So that's, he and his followers must be very happy about this poll this morning.
I would ask one other thing, speaking of that Liberal convention. So it seems to me, back when Charles Milliard first announced that he was interested in running, the idea of a Quebec constitution came up. And there was reaction, both positive and negative, to the whole idea, like it was overkill, wasn't necessary. But at the convention, the party seemed to take this on as a great idea, something they want to get done. I'm wondering what you think of that.
Well, I wrote this in my column this morning. It's called at the back of the drawer, and say, if you don't have anything new to say, if you're in a dearth of ideas, you reach in this drawer, and there's a high-speed rail train, and there's a minimum revenue guarantee, and there's a Quebec constitution. They're all there. And of course, these are not bad ideas, but these are not ideas that are our priority. Your priority, if a Liberal Party of Quebec wanted to talk about constitution, they should have said, listen, elect us, and we'll bring Quebec back in the Canadian Constitution. Our nation will be recognized and our autonomy, and that's going to be great. So that's what they would want to say, but they cannot say this because it no longer has any credibility. So they fall back on this Quebec Constitution, which has been around for 50 years. And the problem that the Liberals have with that is that, of course, they would want to enshrine the Quebec Charter of Rights and the Quebec Language Charter, but they want to diminish it because they disagree with some aspects of Bill 96. So the news in the French media out of this weekend is the Liberals want to retract some protection of French. And this is the worst possible thing that you want to have in the news when your task is to gain more Francophone voters.
Which is exactly going to be my next question. This idea that it's all well and good to preach to the choir, right, to the Anglos here to get those votes, but we know they have to try to make inroads on the French side, right, with the French population, and clearly, and I realize this is about interpretation, Jean-François, right? It's the way this is the French media depicting it. It's not how the Liberals are playing it. But what does this say to someone who's, in the regions, not your Liberal voter, because we know their numbers with Liberal voters for the Liberals are like under 10%. Where's there anything for them?
They're back to this morning. There are 5% Francophone voters who want to vote for them. I mean, this is, it's pretty close to the margin of error, and so there's no possible interpretation. We know that the Liberal Party has voted against Bill 96, which is their right. There are 3 or 4 or 5 sections that they would modify. This is not new, but this is not something that you want to advertise all the time. And even on some of those modifications that they want to put in, I agree with them. But the message that it sends is that when they talk about this, is to lower the protection of French. And even if some Francophone voters could be persuaded that some of these corrections are needed, the overall message while the francophones in Quebec are more worried about the future of French than ever before in the last maybe 25 years, is that, well, we can't count on the Liberals to protect French. So that's the message.
So
and that's why it's so bad.
So we'll say it was a strategic mistake.
A strategic mistake, absolutely. They don't seem to realize it. I mean, at the head of the party.
Okay. That's where we will leave it. Jean-François, I thank you. Appreciate it as always. I wish you enjoy the next few months and good luck with the book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jean-François Lisée.